Mom and the family nanny, Auntie Wang, were giving birth together, and bullet comments floated before my eyes. Here it comes, the nanny is about to swap the two babies. Although the daughter is the nanny's child, she is beautiful and kind-hearted, deserving of the best. The supporting female character is inherently evil, skipping school and middle school to hang out with delinquents, failing to even get into a vocational high school. Not only did she cause the death of her own biological sister, but she also set a fire that killed the daughter's adoptive parents. I really wish I could reach in and strangle her right now. Watching the barrage of comments floating by, I calmly swapped the two children back, because I was reborn. It's a girl, congratulations. A voice reached my ears, and I jolted awake. Seeing the white that filled my vision, I shivered, and in, "Come quickly and see, this is your little sister." Dad brought a small baby to me. I feel a bit dazed. Didn't I just die, suffering from illness? She died alone in the hospital. Patient in bed 9 is in critical condition. Where are the family members? A nurse came out and said loudly. Dad handed the baby to the nurse and hurried over. At this moment, I completely snapped back to reality. I have been reborn. In my previous life, the nanny's daughter appeared gentle and kind. But in reality, she was sinister and ruthless. She hid my early-stage stomach cancer report, causing me to delay until it progressed to an advanced stage. After my death, it was my own sister who avenged me. Since I've been reborn, it's my turn to protect my sister. Dad went to see Mom, and the nurse, bribed by the nanny, switched the positions of the two babies. While no one was paying attention, I switched the two babies back. Oh no, the supporting female character has found out. Alas. The female supporting character is about to lose a sweet and gentle sister and gain a natural-born troublemaker instead. My daughter is also going to lose her status as a wealthy heiress. The barrage of comments before my eyes was filled with lamentations, but I wasn't angry. Perhaps these comments would provide me with crucial information. After the massive hemorrhage, my mother could no longer have children after being rescued. When my father named my younger sister Shernua, it was originally a name that should have belonged to her. In the following days, I was afraid that the nanny would notice the difference in the child and resort to underhanded tactics again, so I almost never left my sister's side. Regarding this, my mother even said with relief that I had grown more sensible. I didn't say yes or no. Fortunately, the nanny, Aunt Chin, didn't notice anything amiss. Seeing how well I treated my sister, she smiled and said to my mother, "The eldest and second young ladies are truly biological sisters, their bond is so strong." She emphasized the words biological sisters with a hint of pride in her eyes. The nanny still thinks the child swap was successful. Could it be that the abuse will now be directed at my daughter? Damn, I completely forgot about that until you mentioned it. Oh no, my poor daughter is going to suffer. Someone needs to remind the nanny. Amid the wails and the bullet comments, I curved the corners of my lips and agreed with Aunt Chen's words. That's right, we are biological sisters. The bullet comments were right. Aunt Chen had treated Shernua poorly in the previous life, to the point of abuse. Aunt Chen, afraid that we would discover she had switched the babies, resigned and took my sister back to the countryside as soon as her maternity leave ended. She didn't breastfeed her younger sister, just fed her some rice paste to raise her. And by the time her sister was 4 or 5 years old, she had to wash dishes, and a little older, she had to wash the whole family's clothes. She also had to endure Aunt Chen's constant beatings and humiliation. After her sister finished 9 years of compulsory education, Aunt Chen wouldn't let her continue studying and planned to sell her to an old bachelor for 100,000 yuan in bride price. These are the things I found out after I reunited with my sister in my previous life. No need to investigate much. When people from Aunt Chen's hometown talk about these things, they all shake their heads repeatedly, cursing her for being unworthy of being called a human. Thinking of this, I grit my teeth in anger, yet the hand stroking my sister's face grows even gentler. My sister notices my movement, reaches out to grab my finger, and babbles happily at me. At that moment, I felt my heart soften into a muddy puddle, just like in the previous life. After finishing her postpartum confinement, Aunt Chin came to resign, saying she didn't want her child to lose a father's love and wanted to return to the countryside so the child could experience a complete family from a young age. Just as my mother was about to agree, I said, "Mom, you can help Aunt Chin bring her husband here, that way, Aunt Chen's child can grow up here too, and my little sister will have a playmate." My mother's eyes lit up, and she agreed, not allowing Aunt Chin to refuse. I smiled. It would be fine to let son Ernie go back home and suffer under Aunt Chen's torment, but I don't want to miss any chance to see her in pain. By the way, the fake daughter is named son Ernie in this life. Moreover, in the previous life, my mother didn't pay much attention to the fake daughter either. After the postpartum confinement, she handed the fake daughter over to the maternity nurse and stopped caring. My father used work as an excuse and only glanced at the fake daughter when he came home at night. I was the one taking care of her all along. Once, when the fake daughter had a fever, Mom was getting a beauty treatment, Dad was at the company, and it was me, a 10-year-old child, along with the nanny, who took the fake daughter to the hospital. I never expected that in the end, I would end up taking care of an ungrateful person. This time, with the biological daughter right in front of her. Anchin will definitely take good care of her, as I expected. Anchin watched over my sister as if she were the apple of her eye, and there was no need for a maternity nurse at all. The younger sister cried, and Anchin was the first to go check on her. The younger sister developed a small rash, and Anchin rushed her to the hospital in a panic, not even asking Mom for the consultation fee when they returned. Meanwhile, son Ernia cried her heart out in the room. With no one paying any attention, strangely, I never heard son Ernia cry at night, and sometimes she rarely cried during the day when Mom and Dad were home, until one day, I saw Anchin adding powder to son Ernia's milk formula. Anchin noticed me behind her and hurriedly explained, "Miss, this is Ernia's milk formula, she's had a bit of a cold lately, so I'm just giving her some cold medicine." "What cold medicine?" "This is clearly sleeping pills." Oh my goodness, could there be any issues with such a young child taking sleeping pills? Of course it will, it affects development and causes organ damage. My poor heroine. I slowly raised the corner of my lips. I was quite satisfied with this outcome. Be careful not to pass it on to Shanua, I reminded, then went back to the room to play with my sister. Perhaps it was really the effect of taking too many sleeping pills on the body. When my younger sister could speak, son Ernia could only babble. The first word my younger sister spoke was sister. I was so happy I almost cried. My mother, standing nearby, seemed a bit unhappy. Other people's children first call out mommy and daddy, so why did Shanua first call out sister? Dad didn't take it to heart, and then spends more time taking care of her than you do every day, so it's normal for Shanua to call sister first. If you spend more time with Shanua, she'll grow closer to you. It's not surprising that Dad would stand up for me. This year, thanks to my reminder, Dad secured a major project. He is somewhat superstitious, seeing me as the lucky star of the family. I am quite satisfied with this as well, whether it was due to taking too many sleeping pills affecting her development or other reasons. Son Ernie didn't start speaking until she was almost 2 years old. However, aside from the barrage, no one paid any attention. 7 or 8 years passed in the blink of an eye. Thanks to my deliberate efforts to build a bond, Shanua grew very close to me, almost becoming my little shadow. Under the same roof, Shanua was practically pampered like a little princess, while son Ernio had to follow Anchin and do endless chores. To my surprise, in such an environment, son Ernio also managed to act very obediently. Compared to son Ernio's obedience, Shanua has never been a delicate, soft little girl since she was young. She doesn't like princess dresses, nor does she enjoy playing with Barbie dolls. She prefers all kinds of toy cars and likes neat, tidy outfits. One day, when I came home from school, I heard my mother's angry voice coming from Shanua's room. "If you don't want it, there are plenty of others who do. I won't buy you anything ever again." "Mom, it's not that I don't want the things you bought, it's just that I don't like these things." Shanua's voice was choked with sobs. Immediately, I dropped my backpack and rushed into the room, shielding Shanua in my arms. Shanua's eyes were filled with tears, yet she stubbornly refused to let them fall. Son Ernia stood right beside her mother, already knowing how to stir up trouble at such a young age. "Auntie, don't be angry with Shanua either. Shanua isn't like me. If I had a mom like you, I would definitely cherish it." Woo-woo. I'm about to cry. The female lead is so pitiful. All of this should have been hers. It's really rare for the female lead to grow up so kind despite being abused by her beastly mother. Hey, I feel like the female lead is a bit of a green TB asterisk TCH. Where is she a green TB asterisk TCH? The supporting female character wouldn't cherish it even if she got it. She doesn't deserve it. Bullet comments flashed before my eyes again. "You're the good one, Ernio. I'll give all these things to you," Mom said, then looked coldly at Shanua, speaking condescendingly. "I won't buy you anything anymore. You don't appreciate kindness." Shanua tightly hugged my leg, her small body trembling. I held Shanua tightly and said coldly, "Whether you have good intentions or just want to control Shanua according to your own wishes, you know it yourself." "Sharon, what kind of attitude is this? I am your mother." Mom was furious and embarrassed. Her face, still swollen from the injection, looked like a steamed bun, and even when angry, she couldn't show much expression. In my previous life, it was because I refused to do things her way, while son Ernie knew how to flatter her, that she preferred son Ernie. This is all human nature, and I can accept it, but she couldn't follow son Ernie in hiding my stomach cancer from me. She says she's my mother, but do the things she's done resemble what a mother would do? I didn't want to argue with her, so I picked up Shanua and left, returning to my room as soon as we entered the room. Shanua wrapped her arms around my neck and said in a tearful, childish voice, "Sister, Mom says all girls like Barbie dolls, and if you don't like Barbie dolls, you're not a good child." Shanua doesn't want to be a bad child, but she doesn't like Barbie dolls either. I gently wiped the tears from her face and asked, "Shanua, do you believe what I'm saying?" Shanua used her sleeve to wipe away her tears and nodded firmly at me. Looking into her eyes, I said seriously, "Girls can like model cars, and boys can like Barbie dolls. Whether a child is good or bad isn't determined by model cars or Barbie dolls. As long as you don't steal or rob, you can like anything." Shanua's eyes lit up as she hugged my neck. "Sister is the best. I like you the most. After all, she's just a child. Her emotions come and go quickly." I gently patted her back, but in a place she couldn't see, my expression darkened. Whether in my previous life or this one, before Shanua was born, my mother treated me this way. She wasn't attentive in taking care of me, but in small matters, I had to listen to her. I had to wear the clothes she bought, and she would buy me toys, but they were the ones she liked. I couldn't have any say in it. If my grades dropped even slightly, her only response to me was harsh scolding and hitting. Whenever I have a conflict with someone, she doesn't care about the truth, only that I've caused trouble for her. But in this life, Dad sees me as a lucky star and won't let her act recklessly. Since she can't control me, she takes her temper out on Shanua, but I won't let her succeed. After comforting Shanua, I walked out of the room and saw son Ernie moving the princess dress and Barbie doll Mom bought out of my sister's room. She saw me too. She's only 5 years old now and hasn't yet learned to hide her emotions. Her eyes are brimming with pride. I glance at her, not intending to pay her any attention, but she seems to want to provoke me on purpose. While reaching for the Barbie doll, she pretends to accidentally knock the car model on the table onto the floor. There's a carpet on the floor, so the model isn't broken, but son Ernie steps on it with her foot. The model shattered with a sound. "Sister, it was all an accident. I can pay for it." She looked at me pitifully, but the corners of her lips curled up slightly. The barrage flashed before my eyes again. No way. How can the female lead be like this? What happened to the pure and delicate little white flower we were promised? It's only natural for there to be some changes when the environment for growth is different. Besides, she's just a child. Exactly, it's just a model. She already said she'd compensate for it. What more do you expect from a child? I walked over, picked up the model from the floor, and a malicious smile spread across my lips as I said, "Of course, you should compensate for damaging someone else's belongings. I'll deduct it from your mother's salary, and if I hear you call me sister one more time, I'll deduct from your mother's salary again." Hearing this, the smugness on son Ernie's face vanished completely. I chuckled in satisfaction and turned to leave. Son Ernie was afraid of Aunt Chen, and she had every reason to be. That night, muffled thuds and suppressed sobs could be heard from Aunt Chen's room. In the morning, while having breakfast, son Ernie ran out and knelt before her mother, revealing the bruises on her body, and cried, "Madam, please save me. Those princess dresses and dolls were given to me by you yesterday, but after the eldest young lady found out, she said she would deduct my mother's wages. Madam, I don't want any of those things anymore. Please don't deduct my mother's wages, or she will beat me to death." Slap. My mother threw down her chopsticks and glared at me coldly. "Sharon, you think you're all grown up now. Do you still see me as your mother?" I put down my chopsticks, slowly picked up a napkin to wipe my mouth, and said calmly, "I'm full, Mom. Take your time." Behind me, my mother smashed another bowl. It seems I was still too kind. In the evening, I entered my father's study. "Anan is here. Is there something you need?" Dad looked up and smiled at me. I smiled back. This is my dad. In the past, he needed my grandfather's help, so he was always compliant with my mother, even to the point of sacrificing his own child. 3 years ago, my grandfather passed away, and with my guidance, the Shur family's strength far surpassed that of the Gu family. My father then began to treat me with kindness and respect. "I found out from Chinmu the bottom price of the Qin group for the land in the northern part of the city," I said. "In my previous life, it was because the Qin family secured the development rights for the land in the northern part of the city that they left the Shur family far behind. With Chinmu's support for son Erniu, my parents didn't hesitate to abandon me. This time, it won't happen again." Dad was stunned for a moment, then immediately overjoyed, standing up and walking toward me. "Anan, you truly live up to being my daughter." I curved the corners of my lips. He didn't even doubt whether the Qin family would let the 18-year-old Qin know such an important matter. Naturally, I wouldn't remind him. I said, "I'm about to take the college entrance exam, and Aunt Chen and son Ernie are making a lot of noise at home, which will affect me." Dad understood what I meant. "I'll have them leave tomorrow. And Mom, while Dad works hard to earn money outside, She spends extravagantly, even willing to buy a 30,000 yuan doll for Aunt Chen's daughter, I said. In fact, for Dad, who can open bottles of wine worth hundreds of thousands in a single night of socializing, a 30,000 yuan doll is like a single hair falling off a cat. He wouldn't even notice that 30,000 yuan was missing from his account, but he still went along with my suggestion and said, "I'll freeze her supplementary card. You're about to take the college entrance exam, and she should take good care of you." With my goal achieved, I gave my father the reserve price for the land in the northern part of the city. I don't know how my father explained it to my mother, but the next day, my mother looked at me with a gaze that could kill, yet she didn't dare to scold me again. I just wanted peace and quiet. I didn't care about her attitude. I thought it would be a long time before I saw son Ernie again. But after the college entrance exam, I was invited by Chinmu to the Chin family, in order to get more from my father. I didn't reject contact with Chinmu. I knew my father still held the same old-fashioned ideas, thinking that daughters were unreliable, and that even a son-in-law was more dependable than a daughter. He never considered how this son-in-law of his treated his father-in-law when the Gu family was in a weak position. Ultimately, I didn't want to be alone with Chinmu. So I brought Shanua along to the Chin family. Regarding my father securing the land in the northern part of the city, the Chin family was originally displeased. However, given that the Shur family and the Chin family are now on equal footing, if they were to clash, it would only result in mutual harm, ultimately benefiting others. The Chin family had no choice but to grit their teeth and continue maintaining their relationship with my family. I never expected to see son Ernie at the Chin family's place. Sister Sharon, son Ernie called out to me timidly. "How could she be here?" I asked. "Earlier outside, my mother had an asthma attack. Luckily, she had asthma medicine with her and saved my mom. I heard that Aunt Chin used to work at your house, so my mother brought her and her daughter back with us," Chinmu explained. Aunt Chin actually wasn't in a hurry to return to the countryside. I narrowed my eyes and suddenly understood. It seems Aunt Chin couldn't bear to part with Shanua, so she naturally stayed with the Chin family. Sister Sharon, it was all my fault before. You can hit me or scold me, but it has nothing to do with my mother. If you don't want to see me, I can leave, but please, let my mother go. Son Ernie looked at me with teary eyes. Immediately, Mother Chin's gaze turned toward me. What's going on? I'm starting to feel more and more that something's off about the female lead. She just wants to live a better life. What's wrong with that? Besides, it was the supporting female character who went to their father and talked nonsense in the first place. The female lead didn't falsely accuse her, but that day at the mall, it was indeed the female lead who stole the asthma medicine from Mrs. Chin's bag. That's not right, is it? So that's how it is. I was just wondering how such a coincidence could happen. I didn't want to explain anything to Aunt Chin either. So I just smiled and said to her, "This is all a matter for the Chin family. As long as Aunt Chin is willing to keep you, it has nothing to do with me." Aunt Chin and son Ernie stayed at the Chin family. I often saw Aunt Chin peeking at Shanua outside my villa, knowing she wouldn't harm Shanua. I simply pretended not to notice. Son Ernie always wanted to attend the same school as Shanua, but after all, she had only saved Mrs. Chin and was not Mrs. Chin's daughter. Aunt Chin wouldn't fight for her either, but compared to her sister in her previous life, she was already very fortunate. At least she had made it to high school. Her sister, with her outstanding grades, was admitted to a top university in the country and chose to major in physics. Their father was overjoyed, and as soon as the admission letter arrived, he threw a grand banquet to thank her teachers. On the day of the banquet, son Ernie came with Chinmu. Aunt Gu, son Ernie called out in a sticky, affectionate tone, hugging her mother and shooting me a triumphant, challenging look. "It's been a few days, and Nyo has grown even more beautiful." My mother smiled gently, handing a gift box to son Ernie. Son Ernie opened it to find a ruby necklace inside. Her eyes lit up instantly, and she exclaimed with delight, "Thank you, Aunt Gu. Aunt Gu is the best to me. Could you help me put it on?" Mom glanced at me and my sister, and as if on purpose, she put it on son Ernie, my sister, and I couldn't help but roll our eyes. Over the years, my position in my father's heart has been crucial, and I have had the final say in all family matters. I didn't allow son Ernie to come in, but my mother often visited the Chin family. Perhaps it was a karmic connection from a past life. But my mother still liked son Ernie very much. The difference is that in this life, her favoritism can no longer hurt me or my sister. Little Nua, Aunt Gu's gift to you must be even better than this necklace. You won't be upset, will you? Son Ernie deliberately stroked the necklace around her neck as she spoke. Nua kept a neat short haircut, which she dyed pink after the college entrance exams. Even on such an occasion, she didn't wear a dress but instead donned a white suit, looking both cool and bold. She leaned her head on my shoulder and pulled a car key from her suit pocket. "This is the Maserati my sister gave me. Who cares about your measly little trinkets?" Son Ernie's smile was barely holding up, but for some reason, she looked at Shanua with a malicious glint in her eyes. Sister Shanua is, after all, a daughter of the Shur family, so why is she dressed like this? If I didn't know better, I'd think Sister Shanua was some street thug. Did I miss some plot? Why is the female lead so condescending? Exactly, the real heiress is so cool, and she even got into the top university's physics department. Is there really such a delinquent? This plot seems different from the beginning. The real heiress wasn't swapped, so why does the female lead sound like she's talking about the original storyline? I furrowed my brows. This comment reminded me, I've already changed the plot. So why is Son Ernie still saying my sister looks like a little hooligan? Slap. I slapped him across the face. "How dare you hit me?" she exclaimed in disbelief. Covering her face, I took the handkerchief my sister handed me, wiped my hands, and sneered, "Daring to call my sister a hooligan, hitting you is the least of it." All the guests turned to look, and Son Ernie seethed with anger but didn't dare say a word, her chest heaving with rage. Chinmu walked over, shielding her behind him, and said to me, "Anan, Nyo is still young, can't you talk things out properly?" I raised an eyebrow. It seems these two have gotten involved again in this lifetime. Brother Chinmu, it's all my fault. I said the wrong thing. Please don't blame Sister Anan. I can apologize to her. Son Ernyo once again put on a fragile demeanor in front of Chinmu. My mother also glared at me angrily. "Shuren, you're becoming more and more domineering. A guest is a guest. How could you hit them? Hurry up and apologize to Nyo." Everyone was looking at me, and Son Ernie was especially waiting for my apology. I sneered, my tone full of disdain. "She's not worthy." After saying that, I left the place with Shanua. Now, the Shur family is thriving, leaving the Chin family far behind. As the leading business force in Haishur, my father relies on me, and no one dares to offend me by speaking up for Son Ernie at this time. "Sister, are you going to marry Chinmu?" Walking into the garden, Shanua frowned and asked me. I didn't hide it, shaking my head with a smile. "No." Shanua visibly breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good. I have a classmate whose friend goes to the same school as Son Ernie, and they say Chinmu often picks up Son Ernie. Some people have even seen them kissing in the car. In this life, Shanua has a carefree personality, but when it comes to the actions of Son Ernie and Chinmu, she can't help but blush, seeing her like this." I couldn't help but chuckle, gently pinched her cheek, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I know all about it. I've already stumbled once because of these two people, and I won't let my guard down." After the banquet ended, Dad said that if I didn't want to see Son Ernie, he could put pressure on the Chin family to make her leave Haishur. He spoke to me with high spirits and full of confidence. I knew he wasn't helping me and Shanua vent our anger, but rather showcasing his own abilities. However, what I didn't expect was that the next day, Dad brought Son Ernie home, saying he wanted to adopt her as his goddaughter, and from now on, Nyo is a member of our family. You two should get along well. Let bygones be bygones. You've always been a generous child," Dad said. My heart couldn't help but tighten. From the tone of Dad's words, it seemed there was no room for further discussion on this matter. The female lead truly lives up to her role, even with a disastrous start. She can turn the tables. That's called selling trade secrets, not some last-ditch counterattack. You're legally illiterate. Funny, talking about the law in a novel. Winning is all that matters. Who cares about the law? Selling trade secrets? I felt slightly relieved and calmly replied, "Yes, Dad." "Sister, you didn't expect me to be able to come back here, did you?" As soon as Dad left, Son Ernie revealed her true colors to me. I smiled faintly. "Indeed, I didn't expect it. But I can drive you away once, and I can do it a second time." Son Ernie also smiled. "Then we'll see. I just wonder if you have enough time left." "Sister, I originally wanted Shanua to leave home temporarily, but she patted her chest and said, 'How could I possibly leave at a time like this? I want to protect you, sister.'" I smiled and didn't insist. I asked my father's secretary and driver. From the driver, I learned that Son Ernie had stopped my father's car and had a long conversation with him alone inside. The driver gave me the recording from the car. Over the years, I've managed to influence about 80% of the people around Dad, so it's not hard for me to know his words and actions. My sister and I listened to the recording together. "Son Ernie, the Chin Group is developing autonomous driving technology for cars and has achieved some results. As long as Uncle Shur lets me be your daughter, I can find a way to give the core data to Uncle Shur. Dad, it's a deal." Someone go tell the female lead that the supporting female character already knows all this. I think the supporting female character and the younger sister are kind of cute together. Shipping everything will only get you in trouble. My younger sister and I exchanged a glance, already having a plan in mind. The moment arrived when I went to pick up my medical report. Someone from the hospital proactively called me, saying that all my test results were fine and that the report had already been mailed to me. I raised the corner of my mouth. The fish had indeed taken the bait. The barrage of comments popped up again. I feel like the female lead deliberately hid it from the supporting female character because she wanted her to die. There's still hope for a cure in the early stages of cancer, yet. I also think the female lead maliciously concealed it from the supporting female character. She must have hated her. So what? The supporting female character was never good to the female lead anyway. A chill settled in my heart. In this life, I have indeed treated son Ernia poorly, but what about the previous life? I treated her like my own sister, yet she still wanted me dead, half a month later. The technology company I founded made a breakthrough in the research of new energy vehicles and received strong support from the government. My father proposed a plan for the group to acquire the technology company. I did not object, but I had conditions. I wanted 10% of the group's shares and to join the group as the CFO. Dad looked at me with a meaningful gaze and finally agreed. Upon learning that I had joined the group and held an important position, Chin's parents began urging me to marry Chinmu both openly and discreetly, but Chinmu refused. He said to me with a gentle expression, "Anan, I've been busy with work lately and really don't have time to get married. I want to personally arrange our wedding venue and give you a one-of-a-kind wedding. Anan, can you wait a little longer for me?" I smiled faintly, neither confirming nor denying it. He took it as my agreement. A year later, I fainted in the office and was taken to the hospital. After that, I was hospitalized, as expected. After the news of my hospitalization spread, the first person to visit me was Sun Erniu. She made no attempt to hide her malice toward me, saying, "Sharon, you've finally gotten what you deserve." Lying in the hospital bed, I frowned at her. "Sun Erniu, do you really hate me that much? If it weren't for you, I would have been the second daughter of the Shur family, raised with my parents' love from childhood. I wouldn't have been stuck with such an unpleasant name like Sun Erniu. I should have been Shernua." Her gaze was fierce, as if she wished she could kill me. At that moment, bullet comments flashed wildly across my screen. Damn, what's going on? Is the female lead reborn? How can there be a female lead like this, who speaks of usurping someone else's place so matter-of-factly? The case is solved. The female lead deliberately hid the female supporting character's medical report. Poor female supporting character. I showed a puzzled expression. "I don't know what you're talking about." Sun Erniu sneered. "Whether you know or not doesn't matter anymore. What should be mine, I will take it back, and you won't live much longer." I scoffed. "You're just the daughter of a nanny. What could possibly be yours?" A shadow flickered in her eyes. What she hated most was having her background brought up, but in reality, even if she was the daughter of a nanny, there was nothing to be ashamed of in striving to succeed through her own efforts. It wasn't that I looked down on her, it was just that she couldn't adjust her mindset properly. A moment later, she smiled and said, "I am indeed the daughter of a nanny, but soon you won't even compare to me." The daughter of a nanny, as she said. While I was in the hospital, my father suspended me from my position, citing my inability to continue in a key role due to my health. The Chin family first expressed their regret that I had developed cancer at such a young age, saying they would hire the world's best experts to treat me, and then mentioned that Chinmu, who grew up with me, was like a brother to me and would accompany me through my treatment. Finally, they announced the engagement of Chinmu and Sun Erniu. With this series of moves, it seemed as though the Chin family owed me nothing. After Chinmu and Sun Erniu got engaged, the Chin and Shur families began to collaborate closely. The Chin family shared its autonomous driving technology with the Shur family, while the Shur family shared its new energy technology with the Chin family. It was truly a powerful alliance. So this is what Sun Ernia meant when she said she would help her father obtain the Chin family's autonomous driving data, by positioning herself as a bridge between the Chin and Shur families. She got what she wanted without breaking the law. She certainly has a brain. In my past life, I didn't lose for no reason, but no matter what method she used, obtaining the Chin family's research data on autonomous driving was also my goal. In fact, I didn't just get the research data, I gained an entire research team. I'm very satisfied. It's time to close the net. I showed up at the hotel for Chinmu and Sun Ernia's engagement banquet. It was clear that both the Chin and Shur families attached great importance to this engagement banquet, as almost all the prominent figures in Haiching were present, and at the entrance of the banquet hall, on the engagement photo of Chinmu and Sun Erniu's name had been changed to Sun Nua. It seems she really cares about her name. When I appeared in the banquet hall, almost everyone's gaze turned toward me. I was wearing a long red dress, with a well-proportioned figure, a rosy complexion, and a healthy glow. Nothing like someone suffering from cancer. The expressions of the Shur and Chin families immediately changed. Chin Mu was the first to approach, his eyes filled with panic and displeasure. He asked, "Anan, why are you here?" I smiled and said, "After all, we grew up together like siblings. How could I not come to my brother's wedding?" Son Erniu also walked over, looking at me with a smug expression, but her voice was soft and gentle. "It's wonderful that you've come to bless us, sister. I was afraid you might blame me, sister. I hope you don't mind that I'm with brother Chin Mu." "I don't mind, you can just pick up the trash I don't want," I said sincerely. As soon as the words fell, the expressions of Chin Mu and Sun Ernia changed. "Anan, you're not feeling well, you should go back to the hospital. We all understand your feelings." Dad frowned, signaling the security guard to come and escort me away. I looked at him and asked, "Dad, I am your biological daughter. Are you really willing to choose Sun Erniu, the daughter of a nanny, over me?" Dad said expressionlessly. "Anan, it's not that Dad doesn't want you, it's just that your body needs proper treatment." Upon hearing this, my heart completely turned cold. From the moment I was hospitalized, Dad never came to see me, not even once. In that case, I don't need to show him the slightest bit of mercy either. Just as the security guard was about to escort me out, the police walked in and went straight to Dad and Mr. Chin. "Mr. Shur. Mr. Chin, you are suspected of money laundering and embezzlement of public funds. Please come with us." The police handcuffed Dad. The sudden turn of events was completely unexpected, and this engagement party was ultimately unable to proceed. How did the plot turn out like this? Both of the female lead's backers have been arrested, so how is she supposed to compete with the female supporting character? Relying on two legal scammers, the female lead isn't a good person either. The female lead was already rotten from the moment she maliciously hid the supporting female character's medical report. In the midst of the chaos, Sun Ernia stopped me. "It's you. It was all you." She glared at me fiercely. I curved the corner of my lips and nodded. "Yes, I did all of it." "So what?" Sun Ernia seemed to realize something, taking 2 steps back with an expression of disbelief on her face. You came back too." "This conversation might take a while." So I found a chair and sat down, replying, "A little earlier than you." "Damn, the female supporting character is also reborn." I knew it. How could the supporting female character have swapped the female lead and her sister back from the start? So that's how it is. This is a direct confrontation. It's just too thrilling. Sun Ernia's eyes were red, but she smiled. "So what if you came back, even without me? You should have died." "Are you talking about this?" I took out a piece of paper and handed it to her. "This is exactly the medical report she hid, which states that I have advanced stage stomach cancer." Her eyes widened as if she had finally understood everything, and she exclaimed sharply, "You did it on purpose." I laughed heartily and shrugged. "What else? I've been reborn. Even if stomach cancer is my fate, I can choose to get treatment at an early stage in this life. I do not have stomach cancer, perhaps in my previous life. Because of my mother, even having a proper meal was a luxury for me. When I was young, she never let me eat my fill in order to keep me slender. After my sister was born, to prevent my mother from applying the same methods to her, I studied tirelessly and was extremely strict with my figure management. I told my mother that having me to uphold the family's image was enough, and that my sister should be allowed to grow up carefree. However, I never expected that in my previous life my sister would turn out to be so ungrateful. In this life, I eat well, live well, undergo regular checkups, and am in excellent health. I haven't developed cancer. The medical report that Sun Ernia hid was actually forged by me. It was all to make my father let his guard down, give me shares, and let me enter the group, because in his eyes, I was about to die, and no matter how much I gained, I would eventually return it to him. Clearly, some people in the bullet comments have realized my scheme. In other words, the female supporting character had previously forged a medical report, deliberately making the female lead believe that she really had cancer, which caused everyone to let their guard down around her. The female supporting character is so clever. With just one medical report, she managed to deceive everyone. Now that the heads of both the Chin and Shur families have been imprisoned, I wonder what the female supporting character plans to do next. This situation is also quite good for the female lead, right? With the male lead's father imprisoned, the male lead can take control of the Chin family, and the female lead will be promoted from the wife of the CEO to the wife of the chairman. Sun Erniu also realized this point, lifting her chin to say to me, "I haven't lost either. Brother Chin Mu is still fine, and in the end, you will still be defeated by us." I sneered inwardly. How foolish, having schemed this far. How could I possibly let Chin Mu take power smoothly? I hold the 10% of shares given by my father. My sister has entrusted her 10% to me, and my mother originally held 5%, but I had pushed her too hard before. Whenever Dad needed my help with something, I would control Mom's money. I took the opportunity to instruct my uncle to buy the 5% of shares in Mom's hands, combined with the 3% of scattered shares I acquired. I now hold 28% of the shares. With these 28% of shares, I have enough control over the group, but the 15% of shares in Dad's hands pose a threat to me. If he were to give the shares to someone else, it would be even more troublesome. I am not in control of the group for the time being, just stabilizing the situation. The evidence of Chin's father and my father's crimes is very complete, and the procuratorate has approved the arrest. Just waiting for the trial. A month later, I went to the detention center to see my father. It's you, it's all you. My father became very agitated as soon as he saw me, his eyes red as he tried to rush over, but was promptly stopped by the lawyer. Chairman, hitting someone in the detention center will only lengthen your sentence. That one sentence alone was enough to control my father. It was clear he was still suppressing his anger, his words practically forced through gritted teeth. Why on earth did you do this? Haven't I been good to you? I laughed mockingly. Dad, I'm just applying what I learned from you. You taught me that for the sake of profit, one can do anything, even to family. His lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. It seems he is well aware of the things he has done. He knew exactly how my mother treated me, but because it didn't harm his interests, he could stand by and do nothing. Later, he could even exploit the conflict between me and my mother, using punishment against her to show favor to me. Upon learning that I had stomach cancer, his first thought was how to use me, not how to treat me. It's just that in the end, I was the one who outsmarted him. Dad, I've been very good to you. You wanted my life, and all I did was help you find a new place to retire, I said, his face flushed with anger. You unfilial daughter, you'll be struck by lightning from the heavens. I laughed out loud. This shows he has no other recourse. So he's pinning his hopes on something that doesn't exist. Whether I'll be struck by lightning or not is beside the point. I'm here today for Dad. I signaled the lawyer to play the prepared video for Dad to see. The video was news about the Chin family. After Mr. Chin's father was arrested, the Chin group fell into chaos. Chin Mu simply did not have the ability to turn the tide and was directly expelled from the group. The person now in charge of the Chin group is a former director, not a member of the Chin family. To prevent Mr. Chin's father from being released, that director exposed many of the things he had done in the past. However, after serving as chairman for so many years, Mr. Chin's father was essentially tied to the Chin group. As a result, while he faced numerous charges, the Chin group also came under investigation. Truly a case of harming the enemy at the cost of self-destruction. Of course, I also had a hand in this. After the video finished, I gave my father some time to digest it before saying, Dad, I can guarantee that your matter ends here, but only if I can keep the others in the group in check. He understood what I meant. He also knew he had no other choice. In an instant, his back hunched over, as if he had aged 10 years. Hand it over, he said. The lawyer passed over the share transfer agreement. The supporting female character is so cool. Just like that, she got the shares from her scumbag father. Honestly, with the supporting female character's intelligence, what does the female lead have to compete with her? Still fighting. Both the male and female leads have been kicked out of the mansion. After leaving the detention center, I looked up at the sky and took a deep breath. It seems that my era has only just begun. Once in power, the first thing I did was acquire the autonomous driving RD team from the Chin group. One day, as I was leaving work and heading to the underground parking lot to get my car, Chin Mu appeared before me. As soon as he saw me, he fell to his knees with a thud, his eyes red, and said to me, and then, I was wrong. It was all my parents who forced me to get engaged to Sun Ernu. You are the only one I love. I should have been braver back then, so I wouldn't have hurt you, and then, please forgive me. Don't believe him, female supporting character. He abandoned you back then when he found out you had stomach cancer. Not only that, he was holding hands and kissing the underage female lead while still engaged to the female supporting character. Now that the female lead has stomach cancer, he's abandoned her too. What a scumbag. Sun Ernu has stomach cancer. I raised an eyebrow. I never loved you, and I know exactly how you and Sun Ernu carried on. Don't come looking for me again. I couldn't be bothered to waste any more time on him. The color drained from his face as he sprang up from the ground, grabbing my arm and shouting hoarsely, No, I don't believe it. You love me. Seeing him in such a frenzied state, I knew there was no point in trying to reason with him. Just then, security arrived to restrain him, and I got into the car and drove away. I had someone investigate Sun Ernu's whereabouts and learned that Aunt Chin and Sun Ernu had returned to the countryside. I chose a weekend to go to the countryside. As I arrived at the door, I could hear Sun Ernu's scolding from inside. No money, no money, that's all you ever say. If you hadn't spent all the money on Chernua, how could there be none left for my medical treatment? Then after all these years by Chin Mu's side, you haven't gained anything either, Aunt Chin retorted. I was in a very good mood. Over the years, Aunt Chin had indeed spent most of her money on my sister. From the moment Enchin stopped spending money on my sister, I knew she had realized that my sister wasn't her daughter, but it was already too late by then. Just as I was thinking, Enchin came out. Upon seeing me, Enchin rushed over and knelt down, pleading, "Miss, please give me back the money I spent on the second young lady. Nyo can't be without money for treatment." Hearing the commotion outside, son Ernie also stumbled out. Her condition is much worse than in my previous life. She is emaciated, with a sallow complexion, so thin that her eyeballs seem about to pop out. She rushed toward me like a madwoman, shrieking, "Sharon, you bitch, how dare you come here? You knew all along that your Nua isn't my mother's daughter, yet you let my mother spend so much money on her. Give me back the money." I admired her ugly state for a while, then revealed a satisfied smile. "That's exactly why I came today." After I finished speaking, hope flickered in son Ernie's eyes. I made a phone call. Not long after, a truck drove in. The workers unloaded everything from it. There are clothes, toys, accessories, books, stationery, and so on, all brand new. The secretary handed an account book to Enchin. These are all the things Enchin has bought for Shanua over the years. Each item is recorded in the book. There were also some food items that couldn't be preserved, but I've noted them down as well. Although Shanua didn't eat those, I can still convert them into cash for you. The total comes to 21,050 yuan and 45 cents, rounded off. I'll give you 21,050 yuan and 50 cents. With that, I handed the money to Enchin. Spending 20,000 to watch a spectacle is worth it. Son Ernie glared with wide eyes. "Sharon, you're playing me. Don't put it so harshly. It's just your own greed and the consequences you brought upon yourselves." I looked at the ruby bracelet on my hand and said with a smile, "This bracelet is really expensive, costing 500,000. Thud. Son Ernie spat out a mouthful of blood, collapsed to the ground, and pointed at me, roaring, "Sharon, you will die a terrible death." I sneered, took one last look, and walked away. Not long after I left, son Ernie died. It is said she died with her eyes wide open. Muttering something about rebirth before her death, I sneered coldly. Even if she were truly reborn, I wouldn't be afraid. Besides, if someone like her could be reborn, it would truly be a sign that heaven has no eyes. Enchin divorced her husband early on to stay in the city and watch over her sister. Her daughter died young, leaving her alone, abandoned by all. Her later years were predictable. As for my mother, I sent her to a nursing home, where meal times and dietary restrictions are strictly enforced. I did it for her own good, to ensure she lives a long and healthy life. Sis, I got into graduate school without taking the entrance exam. I'll treat you to a big dinner tonight to celebrate. I received a call from my younger sister, her voice on the phone so full of life. All right, I replied with a smile. Outside, the sun was blazing, and the sky was clear and boundless. In my world, I am the leading lady. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After my brother-in-law passed away, we adopted his daughter. My niece is naturally sensitive and feels that we treat her less favorably than our son. She also spreads rumors everywhere, claiming that we are raising her to covet her father's inheritance. My husband loves her for her father's sake and never takes it to heart. My son and I kept retreating step by step. Little did we expect that this would embolden my niece, who joined forces with outsiders to set our entire family on fire, seizing our family property. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day we adopted my niece. Watching her put on a show of crying and wailing, unwilling to leave home, I turned and walked away. Just as well, I don't want to either. Before I died, I saw my husband beaten to death with a club right before my eyes. Song Jiao said that since Song Jianjun was, after all, her own uncle, she was willing to give him a quick death. My son Song Yu and I weren't so lucky. Song Jia ordered several thugs to pin Song Yu to the ground, crushing his dignity. I knelt on the ground, crying and pleading, but to no avail. I wanted to lunge at Song Jiao and perish together with her. However, my neck and limbs were chained, leaving me utterly powerless to fight back. I could only watch as my loved ones were tortured to death, and my adopted niece was right there, giggling as she watched the spectacle. She accused me with deep resentment. "When I was little, you wouldn't even buy me a dress. No money. If you didn't have money, you shouldn't have raised me. Where did the money come from for your son's wedding and house? You must have stolen my father's inheritance. Anyone who favors sons over daughters deserves to die. Go to hell and argue your case there." My mouth was full of blood, leaving me with no way to defend myself. The last memory is only of an unusually large fire, reducing everything to nothingness. I'm so filled with hatred. I shouldn't have let my compassion run wild and adopted Song Jiao. I raised a thankless wretch who destroyed the happy life of our family of 3. I never expected that when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I adopted Song Jiao, looking at the little girl curled up in the corner, crying so hard she could barely catch her breath. A chill began to spread from the soles of my feet. Song Jiao. I vaguely recalled the events that had happened during this time. My brother-in-law was recently in a car accident and passed away. Upon hearing the news, my sister-in-law took the remaining money from the house, held her newborn son, and ran away. My husband, with reddened eyes, tugged at my sleeve. He was heartbroken for his brother and wanted to help support the family. I couldn't sleep at all last night, tossing and turning. After the younger brother-in-law was buried, only Song Jiao remained in the family. The father-in-law and mother-in-law had passed away early. Relatives on Song Jiao's mother's side did not attend the funeral, acting as if they had cut off all ties. And they simply did not take Song Jiao seriously, if my family was unwilling to adopt her. The still young Song Jiao would have to be sent to an orphanage. My husband, remembering the years he and his younger brother had relied on each other, swore an oath to treat Song Jiao as his own daughter. In my previous life, I readily agreed, never expecting it would end up inviting a wolf into the house. Following our earlier agreement, I should step forward and take responsibility for adopting Song Jiao. Others took the opportunity to praise her, since Jiao Jiao is crying so much. It seems she doesn't want to go to my house. Let's just forget it. I watched indifferently as the little girl in front of me stared with disbelief in her eyes. I sneered inwardly. Isn't this just an act? Her brother-in-law's family favored boys over girls. As soon as Song Jiao was old enough to understand, she was forced to do chores, and she hated it to the core. Now she's putting on a reluctant act, making it seem like my home is some kind of hellhole. Everyone exchanged glances, and those who knew the inside story were just watching the drama unfold. Song Jiao's face instantly flushed bright red with embarrassment. My husband, Song Jianjun, was too embarrassed to argue with me, so he kept tugging at my clothes, the collar tightening uncomfortably around my neck. I impatiently slapped his hand away and said coldly, "Our family just bought a house in the county town, and taking on another child would really strain our finances. How about this? Why don't you all chip in a little? Who would be happy raising someone else's child for nothing? Besides, we're all ordinary folks, barely making ends meet. Where would we get extra money? They don't act like good people themselves, yet they come to morally pressure us. I'm speaking bluntly, which is like tearing off everyone's fig leaf." They angrily condemned me with disapproving looks. Their son, Songyu, was old enough to understand the situation. His face flushed red. Unable to speak, Song Jianjun couldn't hold back any longer and whispered awkwardly, "Hey, wasn't this already agreed upon? It's just one little girl, just an extra pair of chopsticks. From now on, I'll work more overtime and earn more. I promise I won't lower the standard of living for you and Xiaoyu." His words seemed to open a breach. Those who were unwilling to do good deeds themselves all started persuading me. "A daughter is so thoughtful, and since you already have a son, it's perfect to have both a son and a daughter. This is a blessing that many people can only dream of. If this blessing is so great, why don't you take it yourself?" That person's family also had a son, so it was easy for him to talk without feeling the pain. I retorted angrily, seeing that I was determined. The others didn't dare to persuade me further, afraid of getting themselves into trouble. At that moment, Song Jiao finally stopped crying, standing in front of me. She timidly twisted the corner of her clothes and said with a pout, "Auntie, I'm willing to go to your house. I won't spend much money, I can work, and I won't take my brother's things." Her confession softened the hearts of everyone present. Only I, who knew her true nature, continued to speak with a cold, unyielding heart. "I don't want to adopt her. Can you understand human language? I don't want anyone else sharing my son's affection, so I didn't even have a second child. Xiaoyu is about to enter middle school, and I don't have any extra energy to spare. Since no one wants to take responsibility, let's just send him to an orphanage." Seeing the determination in my eyes, my husband crouched down in agony, burying his head in his hands. Song Jiao's face turned pale, and she stood there speechless. After much arguing, no one was willing to take her in. In the end, Song Jiao had to be sent to an orphanage. It spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. From that day on, I became known as a cold-blooded creature among relatives and friends. I couldn't even tolerate a little girl. If Song Jiao were a normal child, to be honest, I would feel duty-bound. My past life is proof of that. Being soft-hearted toward others is being cruel to oneself. I cherished family ties, but in the end, wasn't sacrificing the lives of an entire family enough? Besides, I'm thinking that in this lifetime, Song Jiao hasn't come to provoke me yet. And not holding a grudge against her is already being magnanimous. I can't talk to outsiders about those supernatural and bizarre things. I can only hold my breath and endure the rumors. Go ahead and curse. As long as I can protect our family, I am willing. I thought this matter was already settled. If Song Jianjun is thoughtful in the future, he can visit more often on his own. One day 2 months later, I left work with a heart full of joy, specifically buying my son a burger and a toy. Song Jiao was possessive, occupying too much of my attention in my previous life. My son, neglected by me, became quiet and withdrawn. In this life, I want to do my utmost to make it up to him. To my surprise, when I opened the door, I saw Song Jiao sitting casually on the sofa, with my son obediently doing his homework beside her, and her finger poking Xiaoyu's head. "What are you doing?" I instinctively shouted, startling everyone in the room. Song Jiao immediately shrank into a pitiful ball. Song Jianjun awkwardly smiled while holding the spatula, not wanting to scare the child. I comforted my son, handed the things to him, told him to go back to his room, and then pulled Song Jianjun into the kitchen. "Are you crazy? We agreed to send her to the orphanage. What's going on now, Weiniying? You don't know how pitiful Jiao Jiao is." Song Jianjun wiped his face and said with a choked voice. From his account, I pieced together Song Jiao's life in the orphanage. The food was bland and often insufficient. The teachers were harsh and quick to yell. Older kids often force her to wash their feet, and if she doesn't do it well, she has to drink the foot washing water. I almost laughed out loud hearing this. It sounded quite lovely. Song Jianjun gave me a strange look and sighed, saying he couldn't bear to watch the child suffer. Jiao Jiao is so young, she doesn't understand anything yet, and without parents, she's being bullied. As her uncle, I really can't stand it. So you brought her back just because you felt sorry for her. We all agreed on this before. We have a son too. Have you considered how he feels? I tried to persuade him patiently, hoping he would send Song Jiao back to the orphanage. I'm not heartless either. The orphanage Song Jiao went to is carefully chosen. The management is strict, but there's never been any history of mistreating children. The director is even an acquaintance I asked my family to find. She looks like a kind person at first glance. Besides, Song Jiao is not someone to be trifled with. In my past life, I never saw her come out on the losing end. We can't just take the child's word for it on the specifics. A child may not know how to speak properly, but she sure knows how to talk nonsense. But Song Jianjun was determined this time. "Honey, please, let's just raise her until she's 18. Okay, Mom, my little sister is so pitiful. Please keep her. I can buy fewer clothes and eat less snacks." At some point, Song Yu appeared at the door, earnestly pleading for Song Jiao. Meanwhile, the culprit hid behind her, looking like a frightened little thing. I can disregard Song Jiangwo, but my son Song Yu is my bottom line, and I don't want to let him down. After much hesitation, I agreed to let Song Jiao stay. Keeping her close, I'll have a better idea of what she might do if she were to be let out. With her petty nature, who knows how she would seek revenge. Nevertheless, I still warned Song Jianjun in advance that if I noticed anything unusual, he would have to pack up and leave immediately. The three of them jumped for joy right in front of me. Suppressing my annoyance, I spoke openly and honestly with Song Jiao. "You can stay, but there are some things we need to clarify first." Song Jiao nodded, not fully understanding, but unable to hide the joy in her eyes. Since we had decided to adopt Song Jiao, it was time to get things moving. I went to the orphanage myself to handle the paperwork, inquired with the director about Song Jiao's situation, and also copied some surveillance footage for records. The director expressed helplessness and tactfully told me that Song Jiao was determined to leave. She had no intention of getting along with everyone and was suspected of deliberately provoking others. As soon as the teacher tried to reason with her, she would cry as if the sky were falling, causing panic among everyone. As for this hot potato, the orphanage wasn't particularly keen on keeping her either, but they were reluctant to say so out of consideration for feelings. Before leaving, the teacher subtly reminded me, "Song Jiao is a selfish child, and I shouldn't waste my kindness on her." In my past life, it wasn't that no one had told me this, but I always thought she was just a child. What bad intentions could she possibly have? Hearing it again now, I was stunned for a moment and repeatedly expressed my gratitude. I didn't mention this reminder to Song Jianjun. He's quite careless, and unless he sees it with his own eyes, he never believes it. After I returned from the orphanage, a grand adoption banquet was held. Song Jiao took off the dirty long gown she usually wore at home and changed into a princess dress. She held her head high with pride, trying to make herself look comfortable in the outfit. I saw it all but pretended not to notice. As the banquet began, Song Jianjun, on behalf of the whole family, expressed his welcome to Song Jiao. "Jiao Jiao, from now on, you are my own daughter. Just like Xiaoyu, whatever he has, you will have too. Treat this place as your own home. Your aunt may have a sharp tongue, but she has a soft heart." His face flushed with emotion as he spoke cheerfully. After his brother passed away, he did not adopt his daughter. Recently, Song Jianjun has been frequently criticized behind his back. He had been holding in his frustration, but today, he finally felt relieved. The relatives who had previously scolded us now wore satisfied smiles and nodded proudly, as if they were the ones who had given everything. Just as the atmosphere was at its best, I spoke coldly. Jiajiao's father passed away suddenly, her mother took off with the remaining money, and they were left with a pile of debt. After selling the house to pay off the debts, only 20,000 was left. Today, let everyone bear witness, all the money will be given to Jiajiao, and we won't take a single cent. Song Jiao's face flushed with excitement. I didn't give her a card. Instead, I handed over cash directly, stack by stack, making sure everyone saw it clearly to avoid any future nitpicking. This move caught Song Jianjun completely off guard. He expressed his dissatisfaction in a low voice. What's all this talk about money? Jiajiao is still young. How will she be able to stay at home in the future? Even brothers should settle accounts clearly. What needs to be made clear should be made clear. I pushed his face away, rolling my eyes as I spoke. In my past life, I did good deeds without leaving my name. Teacher Song Jianjun, afraid that Song Jiao might feel uncomfortable, insisted that all the money spent was left by his younger brother. This led Song Jiao to believe that our family had taken the inheritance. Let's get everything clear in advance this time, so she won't have any ulterior motives. Why did Song Jiao's mother run away? It was because she was afraid of having to repay the debts. She doesn't hold a grudge for being abandoned, but instead, she targets us, the ones who raised her, at every turn. No, I'm laying all the cards on the table. Even if some people think I'm stingy, I'll endure it. Being hurt by rumors and gossip is better than losing your life. Song Jiao officially moved into my house. I treat everyone equally. Song Yu had everything she needed: clothing, food, housing, and transportation, all provided for her without any lack. However, he wouldn't be as strict with her as in his previous life, pushing her to become successful. If she wanted to sign up for any tutoring classes, that was fine. If her mind wasn't on studying, I would spend money to get her into them. Even the parents of her classmates started making sarcastic remarks. She's not even your own child. Spending so much money, be careful you don't raise an ungrateful brat. Song Jiao's mom. You really have too much money with nowhere to spend it. Song Jiao likes pretty clothes, so buy them anyway. Her parents only left 20,000 in total, and I've been keeping a detailed account of the rest. I didn't say a word and paid the bill generously. Song Jianjun watched in astonishment. He secretly apologized to me, full of remorse, whinnying, I misunderstood you before. I never expected you to treat Jiajiao even better than Xiaoyu, but we are just ordinary people. And Jiajiao is like this. I covered my face, pretending to be heartbroken. What could I do? Everyone was watching, afraid I would mistreat Song Jiao. I didn't even dare to say a harsh word. Song Jianjun sighed and walked away. I watched his back, feeling my heart grow colder inch by inch. I thought about how he was also deceived in his previous life, so I didn't hold it against him. If he truly can't see things clearly, then I'll just let him go. At worst, I'll raise our son on my own. Song Jiao soon discovered that her unreasonable demands had actually earned me a good reputation. Gradually, she stopped making a fuss and pretended to be well-behaved. When I took her out, people who didn't know the truth envied me for having both a son and a daughter. With the lessons from my past life, I paid more attention to my son Song Yu's condition than before, afraid that Song Jiao's arrival would affect him. Song Yu was clumsy with words, yet timid and kind-hearted, and extremely fond of his younger sister, Song Jiao. In his previous life, he was deceived by Song Jiao, which ultimately cost him his marriage and job, leaving him hiding in his room all day, too afraid to face anyone. That day, Song Yu returned half an hour later than usual. I didn't take it to heart. After all, it's normal for children to be playful. I didn't want to be overly cautious or make a big deal out of nothing. While doing homework in the evening, Song Yu started to space out from time to time. Unlike his usual focused self, I asked him if he was tired from studying. Song Yu's eyes flickered, and he lowered his head, not daring to answer. As he lowered his head, I caught sight of the purple bruise on the back of his neck. It was clearly left by a slap. I nervously held the child's hand, afraid of scaring him. Don't be afraid, Xiaoyu. Who bullied you? Can you tell Mom? Mom is here, and I won't let anyone bully you. Song Yu has had few friends since childhood. They rarely fought when playing together, especially since that handprint looked like it belonged to someone older. Mom, I can't tell you. It's a secret with my sister. I promised her I wouldn't tell anyone. Song Jiao, I knew it, but since Song Yu said so, I naturally wouldn't make the child break their promise. I only agreed that Song Yu should protect himself. These days, don't be alone. Stay with friends. If anyone bullies you, tell the teacher. The next day, I didn't go to work and specifically kept an eye on Song Jiao. I saw her swaggering around with a few older kids. After they said something, they burst into laughter together. After skipping class, Song Jiao spent the whole day hanging out at the amusement park and internet cafes with those kids. I secretly took a few photos and later went to the school to inquire privately. Those kids are the school bullies, not studying properly and just idling around all day. In the evening, I told Songyu about the incident. I also pointed to Song Jiao's happy, smiling face for Songyu to see. Songyu looked at me with a pale face, bewildered. Why did my sister lie to me? Those people threatened me, saying they would beat my sister if I didn't give them money, so I held him close, not saying much, only reminding Songyu to stay far away from Song Jiao from now on. Whatever she says, don't believe it easily. Songyu clenched his fists tightly and responded in a muffled voice. In the following days, Songyu seemed uninterested in everything. He no longer talked about his sister all the time like he did before. Song Jiao was puzzled and even took the initiative to show goodwill, but Songyu awkwardly avoided her. I used Songyu's heavy academic pressure as an excuse to brush it off on his behalf. After this incident, I agonized over it repeatedly and ultimately felt that keeping Song Jiao, this troublemaker, around wasn't quite appropriate. We couldn't let people live in constant fear and anxiety. Unfortunately, Song Jianjun was away on a business trip those few days, so I couldn't make the decision alone. However, I had underestimated the extent of Song Jiao's malice. When teacher Songyu called, my heart skipped a beat. Rushing to the school, I saw him completely drenched, wrapped in the teacher's coat, pitifully curled up in a chair. I hurried over, touched the child's head, and he obediently hugged my waist without saying a word. Teacher, what happened to Songyu? The child trembled in my arms. The teacher pushed up his glasses awkwardly and told me the whole story. It turned out that rumors had suddenly spread in the school these past few days, claiming that I was abusing Song Jiao at home. The children had indeed seen Songyu ignoring Song Jiao, so they believed it. A few children who were close to Song Jiao took advantage of Songyu going to the bathroom, locked him in a stall, and poured a large bucket of water on him. The teacher noticed Songyu was absent from class and only then rescued him. Mrs. Song, it's the 21st century now. Favoring sons over daughters is unacceptable. I heard Song Jiao is an orphan. As a mother yourself, you know how pitiful children can be. As adults, we should be more tolerant and set a good example for Songyu, don't you think? After explaining the situation, the teacher offered meaningful advice. My mom didn't treat her badly. My mom is the best mom. Songyu loudly defended me. It happened to be during the break, and many curious children, not knowing any better, shouted from outside, the wicked stepmother is here. How scary. Run away. The voices reached everyone's ears. I quickly planned in my mind the matter of Songyu transferring schools. However, if we are to leave, we must do so with a clear conscience. I asked the teacher to call Song Jiao over so I could confront her. Song Jiao entered timidly, and upon seeing me, she instinctively hid behind the teacher, which made others look at me with reproachful eyes. I remained expressionless and calmly said, Song Jiao, will you honestly tell the truth, or should I call the police and we investigate thoroughly? Song Jiao was still young after all, and she didn't handle things meticulously. With careful investigation, the cause could be found. She was just holding on to a sliver of hope. Upon hearing that I wanted to call the police, the other teachers all looked disapproving. Children are young. You can't just threaten them at every turn. Song Jiao, don't be afraid. If you have any grievances, speak up in front of the teachers. Song Jiao had been biting her lower lip, stubbornly refusing to speak, meeting my gaze. She suddenly burst into loud sobs. I'm sorry, Auntie, little you brother ignored me, and I got angry and said nonsense. I didn't know. I never thought it would turn out like this. I won't dare to do it again. Please spare me. She clearly made a mistake, yet she tried to get away with it by using a pitiful tone. Speechlessly, I took out the video from the orphanage where she was caught lying and played it loudly. The teacher who had previously advised me showed an embarrassed expression. Song Jiao likes to lie. Whether she has bullied anyone at school can be easily found out with just a question. Among the children watching the commotion, two slender girls stepped forward. They accused Song Jiao of previously leading older children to take their money and threatening them not to tell the teacher. Amid the lively discussion, I took Songyu and quietly slipped away, having accomplished our goal. As for Song Jiao, the school has boarding facilities, so I first asked the teacher to let her stay. She made Songyu suffer from gossip for a few days, so she should also get a taste of that feeling. When Song Jianjun returned home, I immediately told him what had happened and made the request to send Song Jiao away. Song Jianjun was filled with disbelief. He usually only cares about going to work, not about the children. Song Jiao at least knows who her backer is and never shows any flaws in front of Song Jianjun. If you don't agree, we'll get a divorce, and I'll take Xiaoyu with me. I looked at Song Jianjun's hesitant expression and said impatiently, I really want to take the child and leave without a second thought. Let's see who else Song Jiao can mess with. However, as soon as Songyu heard we were getting a divorce, he started crying and promised to behave in the future. In the end, Song Jianjun gave in, transfer Song Jiao to a boarding school, so we won't see her often. As for Songyu, He should also be transferred to another school to avoid being affected by the previous rumors. Song Jianjun knows that we were wronged in this matter. In the future, he will be even more considerate and caring, no longer the kind of hands-off boss who only cares about work. Seeing Song Yu's smile growing more and more, I feel much more relaxed, which can be considered a blessing in disguise. Song Jiao has gone to boarding school. I only need to be responsible for regularly providing money and buying daily necessities. I haven't missed out on the dresses and cosmetics that the little girl likes. I buy everything that other families have. Which relative likes to gossip and talk behind my back? When Song Jiao is on vacation, I have Song Jianjun take her to his house. We're all human beings. There's no reason to single out my family to take advantage of. Thus, a few years passed peacefully, without anyone to discipline her. Song Jiao became the spitting image of her father. She spent all her time hanging out with troublemakers from the streets, smoking, drinking, and acting recklessly. She didn't even get into high school, so Song Jianjun pulled some strings and paid to get her into a school. I didn't stop him. If we could use money to send her far away, it was a pretty good deal. The year Song Jiao turned 18, Song Yu graduated from university. Not only did he secure a government job in the provincial capital, but he was also preparing to marry his girlfriend of 3 years. I happily prepared to buy a house for him with Song Jianjun. I didn't hide this news from anyone, just to see what Song Jiao would do now. In my previous life, when Song Jiao found out, she cried and made a scene, demanding that we buy her a house too. Otherwise, she threatened to jump from that house and bring bad luck to our family. Song Yu's girlfriend, upon hearing about such an unreasonable sister-in-law in the family, firmly broke up with him. Song Jiao even went to Song Yu's workplace to cause a scene, ruining his reputation and ultimately getting him fired. After the news spread, Song Jiao did not cause trouble as I had imagined. I was almost convinced that she had truly calmed down. I never expected her to be so clever in this lifetime, knowing how to use roundabout tactics. I watched the girl in the video. She was dressed plainly, without makeup, with messy hair, and the background alternated between a school and a dilapidated little dark room. Song Jiao had created a persona for herself as someone who spoils her brother. I was adopted, so I need to repay my uncle and aunt. Doing a bit more work is nothing. My brother needs to buy a house and get married, and I'm still in high school. I can only do odd jobs during breaks. Anyway, I'm not good at studying, so it won't waste any time. Everyone, please don't talk nonsense. My aunt doesn't favor boys over girls. I do it all voluntarily. Yeah, I almost didn't even get to go to high school, so I'm quite satisfied. I really long for the university campus, but unfortunately, I have to go to work right after high school graduation. I can only rely on myself as my own support. Keep going, haha. In the video, the girl sometimes furrows her brows, looking pitiful, and at other times smiles through tears, showing great resilience. To be fair, if I were unaware of the truth, I could easily be deceived. She has attracted many fans by pretending to be obedient and playing the victim. Those people, under the banner of fighting the strong and helping the weak, quickly dug up Song Jiao's past. The news that my family was planning to buy a house spread quickly. The rumors spread wider and wider, with some even saying I intended to sell Song Jiao to buy a house for my son's marriage. Song Jiao explained over and over again that it was all a misunderstanding. I treated her very well, but the angry crowd simply wouldn't listen, and the situation only grew more intense. Hypocrite, adopting a little girl who lost both parents, only to send her off to a boarding school. Why not send her own son instead? This family is disgusting, using the pretense of doing good deeds while treating their niece like a servant. Is your family's crown prince the only treasure, while other people's children are just worthless grass? News spreads quickly online. Relatives, friends, and neighbors all know about Song Jiao's situation. When I go to the market to buy groceries, people deliberately splash dirty water on me. Being pointed at and talked about on the street is a common occurrence. Song Jianjun slapped his thigh while calling Song Jiao, begging her to explain things to everyone again. Those people online weren't stirred up by me. I've already urged them to be more rational. Oh, I was just thinking that since there's no hope for the college entrance exam, I'd save up some money to study abroad and get a bit of polish. I'm just a bit short on cash and wanted to earn some pocket money. I really didn't mean it, Uncle. Please don't take it to heart. Everyone is just joining in the fun, and it'll blow over in a few days. Song Jiao spoke sweetly, but that evening, she sold out Song Jianjun. She claimed he had called to have all his works deleted. This was interpreted by netizens as Song Jiao being threatened. Can they bear it? Of course not. Our family of 3 suffered even more intense attacks. Song Yu only comforted us, saying not to get too upset, and that he would find a way. But I already knew from his girlfriend that he had been suspended and investigated due to public opinion issues. I thought about it and still decided to meet Song Jiao once, to see what tricks she was up to. I can't remember the last time I saw Song Jiao. Back then, she still had blonde hair. The girl standing before me now is dressed in a school uniform, neat and tidy, looking every bit the good student. She gives a shy smile and says with embarrassment, "Auntie, I just wanted to earn some money to study abroad. I didn't expect to cause you so much trouble. How much more does Brother Xiaoyu need for his house? Maybe I can add a little more, after all. You've raised me for so many years, and I don't want to be called an ungrateful person." Song Jiao poured out her grievances to Song Jianjun with tears and sniffles. She said that without her own mother to care for her, she had never learned proper manners before. "I'm just a child, what do I know? No one has ever taught me what's right or wrong. Other children can cling to their parents and act spoiled, but I can only stay alone at school." Song Jianjun was so moved that tears and snot streamed down his face. If I hadn't been reborn, I would have been completely fooled by her acting skills. Song Jianjun felt as if his heart was breaking with pain. "Jiao Jiao, if you need money, just tell your uncle. Everyone supports your desire to study. I'll go back and discuss it with your brother Xiaoyu, and we'll prioritize your education first." Song Jiao was so moved that she nodded repeatedly, tears streaming down her face. Looking utterly endearing, she was extremely cautious. Back then, I used a recording to trick Song Jiao, so throughout the day, her performance was flawless, never mentioning that it was about wanting money, just acting cute and playing the victim, using the same tactics they used on netizens to brainwash Song Jianjun. The two of them exchanged smiles and even made plans to visit the younger brother's grave to share the good news. A prodigal son's return is more precious than gold. Song Jianjun has always felt sorry for this niece of his. It's just that, because of me and Xiaoyu, he held back. I knew I would have to return empty-handed today, so I dejectedly turned off the phone recording. After finishing the meal with Song Jiao, I hurriedly said goodbye. Before leaving, Song Jiao said she wanted to give me a hug, then she whispered something in my ear. "Auntie must be very disappointed, right? Don't worry. I'm determined to get this money." She gave me a provocative smile when no one was looking. On the way back, Song Jianjun couldn't help but sigh to me. "It's good that the child has grown up and become sensible. I can finally give my brother an explanation. She's already 18, capable of taking care of herself. Haven't we invested enough in her over the years? What nonsense are you talking? Jiao Jiao is my daughter, and I have an obligation to take care of her matters, as the elder. Can't you be a bit more generous and not so nitpicky?" I watched indifferently, feeling utterly disgusted inside. Once I got home, I immediately brought up the topic of divorce. This time, Song Yu did not stop him again. He had grown up and no longer needed his parents to revolve around him all day long. Over the years of growing up, he had also noticed Song Jianjun's favoritism. He understood that I had suffered a lot of grievances because of Song Jiao. Song Jianjun wants to support Song Jiao's education. That's fine. After dividing the family property, he can spend his money on whomever he wishes. I couldn't be bothered to care. But as for my share, Song Jiao can forget about taking it. The day of my death in my previous life is getting closer, and I feel very uneasy in my heart, unwilling to have any further involvement with Song Jiao. Taking advantage of this opportunity, a clean break would be better. Song Jianjun cried and made a scene. But I was determined to get a divorce. On the day I got my divorce certificate, I registered a new account. Every penny I spent on Song Jiao over the years, I recorded it all clearly, a total of 300,000, with her signature at the bottom. The 20,000 her father left behind back then was just a drop in the bucket. Moreover, during all these years that Song Jiao has been attending boarding school, I have never really stopped monitoring her. I would check on her news from time to time, often hiring people to take photos and record videos. She used to boast shamelessly earlier, "Just wait and see, all the money from my uncle's family will be mine in the future." My foolish uncle and silly brother, they both treat me as their own daughter and sister. She was dancing in a bar with revealing clothes. She was disciplined for bullying classmates. I presented evidence for all of these. Finally, here is my divorce certificate. The netizens' good intentions were taken for granted, and they were all furious. They directly attacked Song Jiao's account and even demanded that she return the money. Left with no choice, Song Jiao could only delete her account and flee. This time, her uncle's overflowing affection had nowhere to go. I did try to look for her a couple of times, wanting to see what she was up to now, but I gave up when I found no leads. Even though we were divorced, I didn't stop Song Yu from seeing his father. After Song Jiao went missing, Song Jianjun transferred the money back to his son. I told him to take it. Why be polite with your own father? It's not like we should let the ungrateful ones benefit. Buying a house in the provincial capital is very expensive. Having a little more now means less pressure for my son in the future. I didn't want to stay in my hometown listening to idle gossip. So I simply rented a place in the provincial capital and took on odd jobs to help support my son. Songyu was busy with work, so he left the renovation matters to Song Jianjun. He happily helped out all day long, never complaining or showing fatigue. The days were busy and passed by in the blink of an eye. Half a year later, his son moved into the new house, just waiting to get married. Song Jianjun proposed to remarry me. I didn't agree for the time being. Song Jiao is like a ticking time bomb. We still need to be on guard to avoid getting involved again. In the few days before Song Jianjun was about to leave, he had been in a daze and absent-minded, spilled water all over the floor just by pouring it, went out to buy groceries and came back empty-handed after a long time. I asked him with a puzzled look on my face what had happened. He just wouldn't say. I thought he was reluctant to leave us and gave him a serious scolding. "What are you making a fuss about? Our son is having one happy occasion after another. Don't ask for trouble. Don't even think about living with our son and daughter-in-law. I won't agree to it. When you're old and can't move, it's only right for our son to support you, but not now." Song Jianjun did not respond, nodding perfunctorily. He has always been honest and straightforward, incapable of lying. I didn't take the matter to heart and continued to pursue it. Until that day. He went to buy groceries and again didn't return for a long time, and my phone alerted me to a large money transaction. Song Jianjun's card was still linked to my phone number, and he didn't remove it after the divorce. My heart was pounding, and I felt like something bad had happened. I tried calling Song Jianjun, but the phone wouldn't connect, and later it was turned off completely. I forced myself to calm down. I thought about the possible situations he might be in, after much thought. There is no one else besides Song Jiao. What puzzles me is that if she wanted revenge, she should come after me. Song Jianjun has always treated her well. I called Songyu and told him to be careful and avoid going to places with few people. After warning him, I reported it to the police. If the police investigate slowly, it might take a long time. I can't wait, afraid that something might go wrong in the process. I might as well just lay out all my suspicions. As long as it can be proven that Song Jianjun was connected to Song Jiao before his disappearance, then the location can basically be pinpointed. Check the surveillance footage along Song Jianjun's travel route. Just as I expected, he has been stopped on the street several times in recent days and then pulled into alleys to talk. On a few occasions, it even looked like money was being exchanged. I racked my brains and finally figured out where Song Jiao could be hiding, back in our hometown. Song Jiao's parents also left behind a self-built house, because they would return to pay respects during festivals. It hasn't been completely abandoned over the years, however, since it's located in a remote area with no nearby villages, few people go there. That was exactly the place where my family suffered before our deaths in our previous lives. Because I was afraid, my memory of that part is hazy. Now everything has become clear. After I gave the address, my legs went weak. It has been so long. And Song Jiao hasn't called to blackmail me. How would she deal with Song Jianjun? Upon arriving at the location, traces of Song Jiao and others' lives were indeed discovered. When the police broke in, Song Jianjun had already been anesthetized, with his abdomen half cut open. How dare Song Jiao commit such an utterly atrocious act? When they came to arrest her, Song Jiao panicked and ran to the second floor, where she missed a step, fell, and passed out. The lower half of her body was instantly soaked in blood. Song Jiao was actually pregnant. When she woke up, her face pale, she even reached out and patted her belly. Her smile turned eerie. "Auntie, you came just in time. Did you know all along? Is that why you couldn't wait to abandon me in this lifetime? Why did you bring people with you? If I had sold that old fool, I could have taken the money and run off to live it up abroad. It's your family that wronged me. It's all your fault. The child is innocent, Auntie. If I go to prison, he'll only have your family as relatives. You must raise him well." Song Jiao, despite the pain causing the veins in her hands to bulge, still laughed wildly. "I don't know where he got the confidence to think I'm a soft-hearted person. No, she relies on Song Jianjun." "Song Jiao, you've already sliced open your uncle's stomach. Do you still expect him to continue being soft-hearted?" Song Jiao hesitated for a moment, then said confidently, "I'm carrying the only bloodline of his younger brother. I believe he'll know what choice to make." "All right, then we'll wait and see." After Song Jiao was taken away, I followed Song Jianjun's ambulance back to the provincial capital. The doctor said he's just still under the effects of the anesthesia, which is why he hasn't woken up yet. It's not a big issue. In the past half day, Songyu had already learned what had happened. Watching him scold her anxiously, "Dad had such a major incident. And you didn't even tell me." "Mom, aren't we a family?" I held his trembling hand, comforting him just like when he was a child. "It's okay, don't be afraid, Mom is here." After Song Jianjun woke up, he didn't say a word, not even asking Song Jiao a single question. The child was not saved. Song Jiao was young, smoking and drinking all day, and had taken a lot of medication. I haven't even had a prenatal checkup. It also suffered from external shocks. There's no way it could have been preserved. Song Jiao was determined to continue seeking revenge against us. She had no intention of living, yet she wanted us to live in fear for the rest of our days. Unfortunately, fate was not on her side. For kidnapping and intentionally harming others, Song Jiao was sentenced to life imprisonment. The rest of my life will be spent in atonement. Since being reborn, I can finally rest assured, after hearing the two stories above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.